Well, let's then turn to the Republicans and what they might do. I was just reading again in the American Spectator, Josh Hammer, who was talking about the how just how high will the red wave might
Yeah.
reach, and then his whole article culminated in quote, "What will Republicans possibly do if they do reacquire congressional power?" And he didn't answer that, but I understand you want to answer that. So,
Well, first of all, remember that it's a little different this year. When a president's first midterm takes place, and our pundits tell us that the average pickup for the out party, the oppositional party, is 4 Senate seats and 27 House seats. I think I'm doing that by memory. I think that's right. They're usually talking about a party that has been struggling, right? That's why they lost the general election. And so they have a lot to make up. They're 30 seats down. So they win 27 and they're almost even, right? But, or they're 8 down in the Senate and they pick up 4 seats and now they're only 4 down. But this is not this year. They're dead even in the Senate and they're only 8 down in the House. So you pick up 30 or 40 seats, right? And my gosh, you've got already 30 less Democrats and 30 more Republicans. And you pick up 3 or 4 Senate seats and you've got 54, 55, 53 to 55 Republicans and 45, right? 47 Democrats. So it's not how many seats you pick up. It's the margin that you start with when you pick up or lose seats. And the houses are almost equal. So a typical win, and I think this is going to be greater than a typical midterm win, especially in the House. I think maybe the Senate will be the same, 4 seats, 3 to 4 seats. It'll be a substantial margin, and that allows them to have, when you have, what am I getting at? You can have a Lisa Murkowski if, in fact, she wins. I hope she doesn't, but you can tolerate her or somebody like her or crazy House members. You don't need everybody to be lockstep on the same page to get something done. You have some fluidity. So that's one thing. And what the Republicans are going to do is everybody has to realize that they do not have the presidency and they do not have 60 votes. What does that mean? That means they can pass a law in the House, send it to the Senate. Senate does, right? Passes it. And the first thing that will happen is they'll be filibustered by the people who say it's a racist filibuster, right? The Democrats. And they will not have 60 seats to override it. And so they're not going to be able to pass a legislation. And if they were able to get rid of the filibuster, in other words, if they said, well, Joe Biden said it was racist when you guys had the majority, and you said it was racist, a relic of Jim Crow, and we now you convinced us, so we're getting rid of it. And so they could pass legislation, and then Joe Biden would veto it, and then they would need 60 votes, and they don't have 60 votes. They will next time, but not this cycle.
yeah.
So then what are you talking about? What is their real power? Their real power is still pretty impressive. For example, they can say, you know what? You guys, we didn't really vote against your guys like you voted against our guys when we had majorities, but we're not going to vote for any nincompoop incompetence like Javier Becerra or Pete Buttigieg. We're tired of sanctimonious incompetence. So don't even send them up. We're not going to approve them if they're a new cabinet appointment or a third or second tier bureaucratic appointment in the cabinet seat. Or they're going to say, you know what? We're not going to approve any more judges. We're sick of it. We're not going to do it anymore. So don't even send a judge up. We'd rather have them vacant. We're not going to approve them because we know who they are now. They're all Soros-backed judges, or they can do that. And then they can run investigations. So I think we're going to investigate the Biden crime family. We're going to investigate insurrections, not just January 6th, a redo of that. By the redo, how many FBI informants were dispatched that day? What were the decisions made? What are the communications about the decision not to have adequate Capitol police protection? on that day? Why were certain people not charged but put in solitary confinement with an indeterminate charge and sitting there? Why were they harassed or treated poorly by jail staff in Washington, deliberately so because of their politics? Maybe. Why? Who was the people who insisted Brian Sicknick, tragically, though he died of natural causes, was a martyred hero at lay in state to perpetuate the lie that he was murdered? And why did we not hear about the policeman who shot an unarmed protester who was not committing a felony, but a misdemeanor of going through a broken window? And these are questions that will come up. And if we're going to investigate insurrections, why not the 120 days of 2020? Then we go to as I said, the Biden crime families investigations. What was Hunter doing? Where's his tax receipts? What was his communications with his father? Did Joe Biden report this and that and this income that Hunter Biden says he got, et cetera, et cetera? And then there's going to be investigations of Merrick Garland and who did what with the FBI investigating school board meetings and parents, and why did they do these performance art arrests of these various people? Who lied? Why? What happened? Was Andrew McCabe lying? Why did they pass off a FISA to a FISA judge, a dossier that's been admitted in court they knew was false? Because they were so desperate they even had to pay $1 million to Christopher Steele, who still couldn't find one thing that could be collaborated. So there are going to be a lot of investigations. And
you think that the people might get a little bit upset if they end up spending time and resources on investigations that need to be spent on governance for the people? I mean, that seems to me.
Yes, they will. They will. But I don't think they're going to get any news coverage. So it'll go under the radar, because the Democrats will not want that to be investigated. So you can do both, and they will pass laws about, we don't want to have any more oil taken out of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. We want to have some limits on aid to Ukraine, and they will all be vetoed. That's how their system works, but they will try to keep being active. And then
can they do anything? Can they do anything to address woke corporations and universities? The whole culture.
There's only 3 things you can do. The president can issue an executive order. They don't have the presidency. The Congress can pass a law and the president can sign it. The president will not sign any law that the Congress will pass. He'll veto it. They don't have the votes to overturn it in the Senate. And then 3, the House of Representatives can shut down the government and not fund it. And that just depends on how far you were willing to go.
Yeah.
Their power is investigatory and confirmations in the Senate. And that's where their power will be. And then the third leg of their stool is they can stop new legislation coming through a left-wing Congress. There will be no new legislation for Biden to sign. None. The only legislation that will reach Joe Biden's desk is a conservative bill that he will veto. And that's better than signing a lot of left-wing. Yeah. And then they're going to it's going to be a 2-year war for the hearts and minds of America. And why this is happening, we're going to get some bad GDP quarterly reports. We're going to get bad annual inflation reports. The gas situation this winter and oil is going to get worse. We don't know what the hell is going to happen in Ukraine. There's got a lot of existential problems. Crime is not going to get any better. Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to get to the economy, but let's take another break and come back, and then we'll talk